All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm attorney L. Chris Stewart, managing partner of Stewart Miller Simmons. Judge Glenda Hatchett is a loved and proud member of our law firm. Today, all of us will be addressing a great day of justice that Judge Hatchett so rightly deserved, and so many women, not only in the state of Georgia, but around this country, deserve justice after being sexually assaulted. I want to pass the mic to C.K. Hoffler, who has helped spearhead this entire fight for justice and update the public on what occurred today.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Today is a great day for justice. Justice was served. And why do I say that? Well, we all know Judge Glenda Hatchett, who is one of our extraordinary icons, not just in our community, but in this country. She's been a champion for justice, for people, not just women, but for people throughout this country, not just as a judge, but as an advocate for the least of these. She's given a voice to the voiceless. And so she found herself in the unthinkable, unspeakable position of being in the same position as those that she's been an advocate for. She was a victim of really a very egregious and distasteful and disgusting sexual assault. And sexual assault of one woman is sexual assault of all women. So today is a day of justice because the judge, in her case, administered justice. As you all know now, the defendant, and we'll just call him the defendant, a Sheriff Coody, pled guilty to sexual assault, as well he should have. We stood, Gerald Griggs, in front of the governor's office, and we announced our protest many, many months ago because there was no action. But today, the justice was that the defendant did plead, and he also surrendered his position. He is no longer the sheriff. He also cannot be considered a first offender, which means that he will forever have a record of what he did to an innocent woman, our icon, someone who has been a voice for the voiceless. It's not right. So today is a day of justice that we celebrate, but I want you all to know that the judge, our judge, said it correctly. That he hoped that she continued to use her voice in this matter, because this is not the end, ladies and gentlemen, of this chapter. So without further ado, and Gerald Griggs, you all know Gerald Griggs, who is the president of the NAACP here in Georgia, but he's a dynamic, incredible criminal defense lawyer, civil lawyer, trial lawyer. But I'm going to bring up now the woman of the hour, and I say that because she gave an impact statement for those of you I see who were in the courtroom that was absolutely incredible, incredible. And I do want to recognize, and I know that he's not able to speak today, but U.S. Marshal, who was a witness, Thomas Brown, who also gave an impact statement in court today, and we want to thank him. But my sister, Judge Glenda Hatchett, I know that this has been a tough day,
Yeah.
but it's a day of vindication.
It is.
We are proud of you, and you speak for so many women and men who have been victims.
Thank you.
And then I want to say to my son, I just had
Wait,
to
wait,
add
now,
that in.
now, come on.
My son,
No.
Kris Stewart, he's my
No,
son.
no, he's my son.
Look, we claim him, but anyway, so proud of him, so proud of what you do, so proud of the justice. We all stand here together in representing this phenomenal woman, Judge Hatchett.
Clearly, I am surrounded by an enormous amount of support. And I'm very grateful to my law firm, Stewart Miller Simmons, and all the people here who have really stood in the gap. CK, we have these people, Gerald, they just represent a few of the people who have really been on the battlefield. And as Kris said, CK has really been the person who has been leading this. I want to talk to you about what this has meant to me, and I'm grateful that you're all here so that I can just have this opportunity collectively. Because I hope you understand that every time I talk about this, I am in fact having to relive what happened to me. I was at a reception. I'm going to be very candid with you. I'm going to be fairly brief. I'm going to be very candid about what happened so that there's no misunderstanding about what went on. I was the guest of then retired Sheriff Thomas Brown at a reception for the Georgia Sheriff's Association. I was greeted with I was welcome. People were just happy to see me. People wanted to take pictures. I felt very comfortable. And so for this to happen was just like, my goodness. And I was standing at a table, and the defendant, who I will continue to call the defendant, came up uninvited, and I was introduced to him as Judge Hatchett. To be cordial, I'll make this very quick. My family is from Cobb County, Georgia. I said that, but I didn't know where Bleckley County was. He poked me just momentarily in the chest. It's right in the heart of Georgia. But then he grabbed my breast. He grabbed my left breast. He squeezed it. He then started rubbing on my breast until Thomas Brown intervened. Literally had to take his hand off of me and push him off of me. I am a very strong woman. I pride myself on being strong, and I really thought I was fine. I'm just going to tell you exactly what happened. I'm fine. This happened Tuesday night. I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. I pressed charges the next morning. I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. I even went to a dinner that Wednesday night. Thursday morning, I could not get out of bed. And I want to be candid about this. I'm being because people who know me, my life is very public, but my life is very private. I bet you $1,000, very few of you could say anything about my personal life, and that is by design. Even before I went on television, I am very private, almost introverted for my personal life. And so here it is, I am sobbing, literally sobbing. I could not stop crying. I could not get out of bed that Thursday morning. My assistant, Naima Rashad, has been with me for some 12 years or so at that time, was like she'd never seen me like that. I rarely cry. Very few people have ever seen me cry. And I could not even get up to go and get something to eat. That's how, in what horrible shape I was. I'm gonna be very candid that I did go into therapy that evening at 6 o'clock with Dr. Susan May. And I say that because there's sometimes such stigma about therapy. I needed help. My life had been changed. And as I said to the judge in the court this morning, that I never expected that I would be so deeply affected by this. I could barely get through my impact statement. See, my eyes are still puffy. I cried and cried and cried in court. And thankfully, I've at least gotten that out so that I hopefully won't break down today, and I might. But what I said is that there is a scar that he left. And what I really resented is that someone could have that kind of power over me. That somebody could make me in that moment feel helpless. I have never felt so helpless in my entire life. And I was angry, frankly. I was angry that I didn't slap him, I didn't kick him. But now I understand victims. I was absolutely frozen. And so I stand here today, as they have said, that I have been on the other side of this. I've never been the victim. I have been the advocate. I have been supporting people. I've been trying to make sure that people's rights were protected. And here I am being a victim. And so it would have been easy for me to just, go home and say, okay, well, it was an unfortunate situation. I had to file charges. There had to be accountability. Because the message needs to be clear that you cannot do this. How dare you do this? And if he would do this to me after having been introduced to him as Judge Hatchett, what else is happening? What about the women and men who are out here who don't have the resources that I have, who don't have the support of this amazing law firm and these amazing lawyers and all these people in the community who have stepped up and have been with me? This has been 20 months. 20 months that they have manipulated the system with delays after delays after delays, in my opinion, so that he could hold on to not only his salary, but his pension. And I'm going to go there. I am going to go there. The governor did nothing. I'm going to go there. The governor, after men and women stood in front of the Capitol last October and demanded that the governor take action, he never suspended him until today, when he resigned. He has been on salary and will have his full benefits. And so that is outrageous and it's unacceptable. And yes, I went there. And so what I will say, and I will take a few questions today, and I appreciate you all being collectively here so that I don't have to keep reliving this over and over as I talk. But I just want to say to the victims out there, speak up. People have to be accountable. And the judge said to me before I left the court today, I hope that you will continue to speak up. And that is what I will do. That is what this law firm will do. That is what others who are in this fight day in and day out will do. Because we must be the voice for the voiceless. We must stand in the gap. We must be there to support people who are not able to do what needs to be done to seek justice. And so with that, I will open it up for questions. And I got through it without falling apart. But if you go back and see the courtroom tape this morning, I was just all over the podium. I was like, whoop! And I didn't think I would, but I did. It has been hard.
Judge Hatchett, why do you suppose the court system and the governor took so long to recognize that this was a serious issue.
Well, first of all, the governor still hasn't done anything. The defendant resigned this morning before entering a plea to preserve, basically, in my opinion, his pension. Had he taken the plea, and been on the record as being guilty of this sexual assault, he would have forfeited under state law. And so I think that this was carefully orchestrated. I said to the judge this morning, I appreciate the backup with COVID and so forth and so on, but he was scheduled to plead, let's be very clear, the second week in September of last year, and he didn't. And it kept getting delays, He was gonna plea, I'm gonna go to trial, I'm gonna plea, back and forth, until finally I was like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And it was finally set. And I think that Judge Brewer did a remarkable job. He actually went further than what the prosecutors asked for this morning. And he made it very clear as to why he did not grant first offender coverage or what am I trying? Protection, thank you. That's why I have good people around me. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
How do you feel about this sentence?
I think that justice was served, Donna. I do. I do think that there was an abuse of the system on behalf of the defense. In this case, I just think there were too many delays. I would have liked for the solicitor to have been far more aggressive in opposing so many delays, because I think she got outmaneuvered, frankly. I mean, you know me long enough to know I'm just going to tell you what I think. I think she got outmaneuvered, and to the point where I had to put my foot down and say, absolutely enough. This has got to be resolved, and if he hadn't entered the plea today, he would then be, we would be on trial next Monday and Tuesday. And so I didn't know whether he was going to show up this morning. I mean, we went, and it was scheduled, but we didn't know for sure whether he did. And he did resign, as I said shortly before. But I do think justice was served. I do. I think there has to be accountability, and I think that this all needs to be done publicly. I will also add that his attorney had asked some time ago through the prosecutor to communicate with me if I would accept his apology and drop the charges. And the answer was an emphatic no. He did not apologize to me today. The judge gave him 3 opportunities to speak. Each time, you were there, each time the judge said, is there anything else you wish to say? 3 separate times in the process, and he said no. It would have taken him 30 seconds to have just, I was right on the front row, it would have taken him 30 seconds to say, I'm sorry. He never said it. And you know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because I do not define myself based on whether he will ever apologize to me. That is not who I am, and I really, that's it. I don't care if he apologizes.
Is there a different standard for women victims accused of power?
I'm sorry, a
Is
big
there a difference?
standard for.
An issue of standards.
Well, I think.
To women victims who are, particularly when they're accusing men who have power.
Well, I can't say that emphatically. I do think in this situation that it was handled poorly. I do. I think the governor could have made an important statement, as I was talking about earlier, that spoke to this and the impropriety of this. And for the governor's office to issue a statement saying that they weren't going to do anything because he was not on duty is absurd. It's ludicrous. And so I can't say yes emphatically on that, but I do have real concerns about what happens. And let me just go a step further on this. What if I were not Judge Hatchett? What if I didn't have a Kris Stewart? What if I didn't have a C.K. Hopler? What if I didn't have a Gerald Griggs? And all of these lawyers and all of these people who have come and stood with me shoulder to shoulder to shoulder. What if I couldn't afford to go to therapy? What would have happened that Thursday? What would have happened to me? You know, I am surrounded by so much support because I'm Judge Hatchett. But what about the women and men victims who aren't? And that's why I've dedicated so much of my life, as you know, professionally, advocating and trying to be a voice for people who don't have a platform, who will never be able to stand in front of a press conference, who will never be heard. And so, yeah, I did file charges, and yes, I was going to see this through, and I was not going to dismiss the charges under any circumstances. Thank you so much.
Thank you.